Good evening. We have some very upset geese here because someone has decided to go night fishing. So they were disheveled, disrupted from their spot, and they are highly indignant about that interruption. So it's a little dark, but we're gonna see if we can pull this off. This is step 10. Continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 10 of CODA. Beth M. writes, I do step 10 all the time. Too much, I think. Admitting I was wrong was very, very difficult for me in the beginning. Now I still don't like to have to do it, but I do it anyway. My daughter and I have a fight. I react and say something inappropriate. This step gives me permission to walk away, cool down, and apologize for my part, and let go of the incident. It also gives my daughter permission, as she watches me, to understand that I'm not perfect. Parents aren't perfect, and she doesn't need to be perfect. It has given me a tool to allow for my humanness and to nurture and love myself despite it. And sometimes because of it, it has given both my daughter and me a tool to deal with our humanity. The words, I'm sorry. I wake up and notice I haven't been feeling my emotions for a while. My body aches. I feel weighted down and troubled. I have gotten out of touch with myself. I've gone on automatic pilot again. This step gives me permission to accept my current state and move forward without blaming or shaming myself. It gives me permission to stop rushing about and ask myself what I need and what would feel good. As December moves into January and I'm cleaning the slate for the year past, I noticed I've allowed some discord and anger in a particular relationship to harden into resentment. I feel used. I am feeling uncomfortable about the status of that relationship, and I am going out of my way to avoid that person. This step gives me permission to accept who I am and learn my lesson from the relationship. I can ask for guidance, then trust the direction I receive and allow healing feelings to smooth the discord. By February, the relationship is back on track. I am participating in it again, this time with new boundaries. I have let the past go. Not in a codependent way, but in a recovery way. I've allowed it to teach me what I needed to learn about myself and how I deal with people. He keeps disrupting them. I find myself feeling trapped in a relationship, justifying not taking care of myself and not saying what I want and need. I fear losing the relationship, fear that I cannot be trusted, fear that what I want and need isn't okay. I fear hurting the other person's feelings. I fear the future. This step gives me permission to notice and accept that I am not owning my power. It gives me permission to begin doing that without casting judgment on myself or another. I stop allowing myself to feel, when I stop owning my power, when I behave inappropriately, when I've moved into denial, when I try to control another or start letting him or her control me, when anger hardens into resentment, when I'm afraid to look honestly at my fears, when I become too harsh and critical of others or myself. This step tells me it's okay. I'm okay, and I can move forward into a better way, nurturing myself all the while. Instead of shaming and chastising myself, this step challenges my greatest, most predominant, and sometimes most troublesome belief about myself, that I have to be perfect, especially now that I am recovering. I used to be frightened of this step. I thought it meant I had to perform a critical, judgmental inventory of myself every day, fearlessly searching out and focusing on my bad points, my defects, and what I was doing wrong. I was good at that. I didn't need a step to help me do that. Now, I have a different vision of this step. It is a tool that allows me to continue to be aware of myself instead of focusing on others. It is also a tool that helps me treat myself in a nurturing, accepting way. Part of nurturing and respecting myself means I am free to take care of myself in a healthy way with others, admitting I did wrong and apologizing, or owning my power when I have forfeited it. This step gives me permission to identify when I have become angry at myself again, or begun to neglect myself, my feelings, and my needs. It allows me to release my anger and move forward into nurturing self-love. This step gives me the freedom to admit promptly when I have gotten off course, so that I can get back on track with my program of self-care. This step also means that I am free to take a few moments each day and focus on and enjoy what I have done right, and then feel good about that. I know, sweetheart. You just want to go to bed. And he's putting his boat in and taking it out. That's not fair. He didn't even bring a snack. What kind of man, I tell you. The next section, for step 10, continued to take personal inventory. There goes our anchor. I know. It's unforgivable, ladies. He didn't even care. I know. Now he looks like he's leaving, but he's probably not, huh? No, going back over, get settled in. All right, here we go again. Here I go again. Continue to take personal inventory with an outward focus. Like you've got. It's a wonder you've ever had a bad day, my husband once remarked to me. His remark was intended to be funny. It was also profound in its insight. Before recovery from codependency, I had an uncanny ability to stay intensely focused on externals what others were doing, what they weren't doing, what they were trying to do to me, and what they had done to me, and how much better I'd feel if they would do something differently. This thinking that others were somehow in control of my life path and that they could make me feel better or different was an illusion. And I learned it was an illusion the hard way by bottoming out on my codependency. If we have done our work on the steps, we have progressed through that kind of thinking. We may fall back into it on occasion, but at least now we know what we're doing, and we know that it is an illusion. Many of us begin our recovery journey because of what someone we loved was or wasn't doing. We came into this program because of that kind of thinking. And then, the first step grounded us in a new way of thinking, a new way of approaching life, others, and ourselves. By the time we made it to the fourth step, we were ready to begin focusing inwardly. We were ready to begin soul searching. We started to take a look at ourselves and what was going on with us. We began to look at how we habitually responded to life instead of focusing on what was going on with others. The process we went through in steps 4 and 5 took us on a house cleaning tour of ourselves. We turned our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood God. Then we cleared out the package we had turned over. Now we have been given this step as a maintenance step to help us continue in the process of looking within. This step doesn't ask us to go after ourselves continually with a hammer and a chisel. It doesn't tell us we have to walk through life holding ourselves under a microscope, hypervigilantly watching all that we say and do, waiting with bated breath to criticize and punish ourselves. It does give us permission to continue to be aware of ourselves, and when we are wronged, to admit and deal with that promptly. What are the wrongs we look for and promptly admit? We want to look for the wrongs we do to others, the wrongs that are so easy to rationalize and justify. We want to watch for any personal course of conduct that is less than what we reasonably can expect of ourselves. This may include inappropriate expressions of anger and rage, inappropriate conduct when we are angry, harboring resentment, controlling, manipulating, and using people, lying, expecting others to fill up the hole in our soul, or any other behavior that does not meet with our own approval. How will we know when we have behaved inappropriately? If we have done our work, if we have cleared away the wreckage of earned and unearned guilt from the past, if we have worked these steps to the best of our ability, we will know. The matter will get our attention. We will have experienced enough peace to be able to recognize unrest and enough guidance to know how to find our way out of any predicament we may find ourselves in. We will know and trust that we can let go and allow ourselves to be guided into a right course of conduct, whether that means saying we're sorry or attempting a course of changed behavior with another person. I have learned I can't rely on feelings alone to do this step. I may feel guilty when I haven't done anything wrong, or I may feel guilty. Or I may feel guilty about doing things that are good for me, like playing and having fun, expressing my feelings, and saying what I want and need. Sometimes I don't feel guilty about behaviors I legitimately need to correct. I feel defensive and protective. Amen, hallelujah. This step asks us to continue the process of using our intellect, our wisdom, and recovery wisdom to review and inventory ourselves. We want to trust our feelings, but we must also call our intellect into play so we don't get lost in the swell of unearned guilt and defensiveness. We can think. With our new insights, we can take a look at ourselves each day and lovingly figure out what it is we need to do to take care of ourselves. In the next section, admitting when we're wrong. Often, I've found that simply taking responsibility, then apologizing for my conduct, is sufficient to clear away issues that arise. The words, hang on, we're playing that light game. Crystal didn't bring her flashlight. There we go. The words, I was wrong and I'm sorry, are so healing. To be able to give or receive those words, then let go of an incident, is one of the many gifts I've been given in this process called recovery. See, there was sound effects provided by the universe, and it sounded nice. All right. Growing up, I spent most of my life with punishing people. If an indiscretion occurred, it would be filed away and used against that person over and over again. Sometimes for years and years, nothing was ever let go of. I became a punishing person. If someone disappointed me or didn't do what I believed they should have, I didn't just get angry. I hung on to it and punished. That's how I treated myself when I did something wrong. I kept myself away from the love and joy available to me in relationships and life. I didn't know how to accept, forgive, and nurture myself. I didn't know how or when to accept and forgive others. Sounds like these birds need to forgive the gentleman with the boot. I kept trying to forgive alcoholics for drinking when I was still allowing myself to be victimized by their drinking. I kept substituting forgiveness and denial for acceptance of reality. I had concepts confused. Crystal would call it being upside down. Now I'm learning how to accept and give apologies, then let things go. I also understand that this always means dealing with my feelings, and accepting reality. I'm learning that my feelings are an important part of reality. For years, when I would feel hurt or angry, I'd run to God and ask God to forgive me. I would feel ashamed and contrite for feeling angry, or feeling hurt, or feeling, Father, forgive me, for I have sinned, was my motto each time I had any kind of disruptive feeling toward another. I looked at myself and my feelings as something outside and apart from my higher power. Then I would feel confused and guilty. And when the feelings didn't go away, when the other person's behavior continued, so did my feelings. It took me a long time. I am still learning this lesson, to realize that my feelings are often how my higher power speaks to me and tries to get my attention about a lesson I need to learn. That lesson may be setting boundaries, owning my power, or learning something about myself and relationships. My feelings are not incidentals. They are an important part of me, my life, and what I need to be paying attention to. At the least, they are to be fully experienced before I move forward. Life and my higher power will often pellet me successively with similar circumstances, designed to provoke a certain emotion. I used to think that not feeling the emotion was what was expected of me. Now I'm learning to surrender with more ease and dignity to the emotion as a necessary and important part of the experience. Alright, I'll try a little bit more. In spite of the sound of the sad birds. Tell me crackers or something. They just want their little spot back. I understand, friends. This last part for this night video is continuing to love ourselves. There is another area of our lives where our inventory may lead to the discovery of a wrongdoing that requires prompt admission. This area is one of wrongdoings toward ourselves, not acknowledging and feeling our feelings, not setting the boundaries we need to set, not paying attention to ourselves, not trusting ourselves, not respecting ourselves, not listening to ourselves. These are wrongdoings that need prompt attention. Being angry at ourselves and punishing ourselves is a wrongdoing. Self-neglect is wrong. Self-neglect can become habitual for those of us who have spent many years practicing codependency. It is much easier for me in any given situation Okay, here we go. Self-neglect can become habitual for those of us who have spent many years practicing codependency. It is much easier for me in any given situation to shut down my emotions and neglect myself than it is for me to value and trust myself and my emotions. This is something we need to watch for in our inventories. Getting hooked into caretaking, focusing on another, and neglecting our own emotions and needs can be another instinctive response we might want to watch out for. Trying to control the course of our relationships rather than allowing them to unfold and taking care of ourselves in the process is another behavior to be on the lookout for. Not being emotionally honest about our needs and wants with ourselves or others is a wrongdoing. Forgetting or neglecting to treat ourselves with a nurturing attitude is an area that we may want to watch for. Often our initial response to any given situation is to be harsh, demanding, critical, and shaming of ourselves. That, my friend, is doing wrong. We may anticipate rejection when it is not forthcoming. We may fall into the trap of our old beliefs that we are unlovable, incompetent, and undeserving. These old beliefs are wrongs against ourselves, and they can do harm in our relationships. We may fall into our fears and forget how to let peace and trust control our lives. That is a wrongdoing. Anytime we get off course from the way of living we have discovered, it is time to take the step and allow it to put us back on track. Not nurturing and taking care of the child within is a wrongdoing. Looking to others rather than ourselves to take care of, to protect, to nurture that frightened, needy child is a wrongdoing that can lead us into desperate and codependent gestures in our relationships and our lives. Falling back into a depraved and martyred way of living, deprived and martyred way of living is a wrongdoing. Allowing others to control us or our lives is a wrongdoing. Are we worrying again? Are we once again trying to control what we cannot? Are we substituting control for owning our own power to take care of ourselves in any circumstance? Have we become fearful or ashamed again? Have our reactions to people become fear-based or shame-based? Are we fussing too much over others and over that which we cannot control? Have we gotten into a power play with someone, reacting and trying to force our hand? Are we holding on too tightly? Are we allowing ourselves to feel our anger? Are we doing these things for ourselves that feel good? Are we being honest with others and setting the boundaries we need to set? Are we in touch with ourselves? Are we being true to ourselves? Are we trusting ourselves and our higher power? Are we clear about what we want and need? These are areas we want to watch for in our inventory. If we uncover wrongdoings, we admit them promptly to ourselves. Often it helps to talk to someone else too and share what's going on. It doesn't hurt to tell God either. Exposing ourselves, being vulnerable, is a behavior we learned in the 5th step. Anytime in our recoveries the old, helpless, victim feelings return, we are doing ourselves wrong. We need to admit it promptly, take responsibility for ourselves, and own our power with people. We are not victims, not anymore. And this step guarantees that we do not ever have to be again. Many of us lived lives filled with judgment and attempts at perfection. We judged ourselves and others. If we did wrong, our defenses flew up, and we tried to deny our part, afraid that we would not be worthwhile people if we weren't perfect. We used our mistakes to reinforce our anger and resentment towards ourselves, the same way we may have done with others. This step tells us that making mistakes is expected and anticipated. My finest and most important lessons have all come from my less than perfect behaviors. I am slowly learning that perfection is allowing myself, without judgment, to be who and where I am today. and then responding to myself in a responsible but nurturing and non-shaming way. Self-acceptance rendered with a huge dose of self-love. We need not be nearly as fearful as getting off. We need not be nearly as fearful of getting off track. I've learned, as of not loving and accepting ourselves. Let me try that sentence again. We need not be nearly as fearful of getting off track. I've learned, as of not loving and accepting ourselves. Still didn't make sense. No matter what predicament I find myself in, by taking this step with a loving and nurturing attitude toward myself, I can get out. Shaming myself, not accepting and not trusting myself don't work. By taking this step, I usually find that the circumstance works for good. It benefits me. It teaches me something. It helps me grow and learn. One way I work this step is by using it to affirm myself. For instance, if I am afraid of a particular circumstance, I accept my fear, then write an affirmation that counters that fear. As I become aware of old beliefs that I'm hanging on to, old negative, self-defeating beliefs, I write affirmations as needed to counter each of those beliefs. I also use this step as a reminder to nurture myself. The next part is a time to inventory. Some people in recovery prefer to take this step nightly. When they retire for the evening, they review their day and their conduct. If something arises during that review, they make a mental note to deal with it. That may mean dealing with feelings, being honest with someone, telling someone they're sorry, or making an amend to themselves. We may need to go back to another step to help us in our inventories. If we are open, we will know what to do. We have begun a process that we can trust, a process that will continually support us in our growth. This program and these steps will not abandon us. Some of us like to take this step in the morning, during those quiet moments before the busyness of the day sets in. During that time, we are open and receptive to our feelings. We may want to ask, what's going on with me? What do I need to do to take care of myself lovingly and responsibly? Then we listen to ourselves and respond. Others work this step in a more relaxed fashion, trusting that if they are working their program, staying connected to other recovering people, and trying to stay on track, this step will find them when it needs to. I try to be aware, said Joan. I can't say I take a 10th step every day, but I talk to my sponsor 3 times a week and keep her up to date on all the stuff in my life. I admit to her when I'm wrong, even if I admit it to nobody else. I still don't remember to check things out with my higher power, but I know that the peace can be had. I look for the little answers. I accept things. I let things be that aren't in my plan. I've learned this about myself and my recovery. When it's time for something to get my attention, I don't have to worry. The lesson will not go away. It will continue presenting itself until I deal with it. In a natural way, insights about ourselves will reveal themselves to us. The next part, look for what's good, too. While we're busy inventorying ourselves, we may want to pay attention to what we're doing right. Step 10 says continued to take personal inventory, and when which is in italics. We were wrong, promptly admitted it. It doesn't say that we ignored what we do that is right, or what's right in our lives. It says we continue to inventory ourselves. Hang on, I gotta get a sip. Thanks to Quick Trip Tea. When we inventory, we can look for many things. We can search out feelings that we may be running from. We can look for low self-esteem or inadequacy creeping back in. We can look for reversions to old ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. We can look for those behaviors that we truly are uncomfortable with, that we have directed towards others, and we can make prompt amends. But an important part of our inventory can also focus on what we're doing right and on all that is happening within us and around us that's good. This is not busy work. It's an important part of our recovery. Part of our codependency is this obsessive focus on what's wrong, what's going wrong, and what we might be doing wrong. The recovery behavior we replace that with is learning to focus on and pay attention to what is right, what's going right, and the positive vision of how things are working out well in our lives. We may have to work as hard or harder at focusing on what's right as at uncovering what we're doing wrong. Look fearlessly with a loving, positive eye. What did we do right today? Did we stand still and deal with a feeling? We may have done it awkwardly, but did we do it? Did we think about a step once during a crisis? Did we do something differently today than we would have done a year or two ago? Even a little differently? Did we reach out to someone and allow ourselves to be vulnerable? Did we start to get into shame or negativity and then become aware of it and get ourselves out? Did we do something nice, gentle, and loving for ourselves? Did we do something for someone else that felt good? Did we do our work well? Did we deal positively with a bad day? Did we practice gratitude or acceptance? Did we take a risk, own our power, set a boundary, enforce a boundary? Did we talk honestly and openly to someone and feel we got a little closer, bonding the connection between ourselves and another? Did we own our power in a way that was good for us? Did we take responsibility for ourselves in a way that we might not have before? Did we take time for prayer or meditation? Did we trust God? Did we talk to God and turn things over to God? Did we let someone do something for us? Did we start to get caught up in someone else's issues and then practice detachment? Did we go on with our daily routine and then what we wanted to do was sit and obsess? Did we listen to ourselves, trust ourselves, and see how well that worked out? Did we hold our own with someone who tried to manipulate or control us? Did we affirm ourselves? Did we nurture ourselves instead of criticizing ourselves? Did we practice self-love in any way? Did we go to a meeting, read a meditation, or think about a recovery concept, even for a short while? Look at what we did right. Look at what we did well. Strive for self-awareness without becoming hypervigilant about it. If we did something wrong, accept and deal with that, but also look for what we did right. No matter where we are, or who we are, or what we're doing, even on our very worst days, especially on our worst days, we can find one thing we did right, something good about ourselves and our lives to dwell on. We can find something to feel hopeful about, something to look forward to. We can focus realistically on a vision of what is and what can be good in our lives. There's room in reality and recovery for what is right. Identifying the negatives and the problems will help us solve them. Empowering the good will help that to grow too. We can tell ourselves, others, and God what we appreciate about the other person, ourselves, and life. We can let go of our need to be so critical of ourselves and others. We can look for what's right. All right, and last section for this step, maintaining self-esteem. This is the step of continued self-awareness and self-responsibility. In the other steps, we begin the process of looking within rather than focusing on others. Really. The step encourages us to continue on that path. We don't have to use it as a rigid tool to control ourselves and keep ourselves behaving perfectly. We can use it instead as an anchor to keep us grounded in ourselves and our own growth processes. We can allow ourselves to live and trust the lessons to reveal themselves to us when it is time, when we are ready, when our higher power is ready. Sometimes this lesson is a new behavior we need to work through. Sometimes the lesson is an old behavior that has crept back in. Sometimes I need to deal with an incident, a person or myself, and clean up my act. Sometimes I have forgotten to practice a simple principle like gratitude or detachment, principles that can determine the quality of my day-to-day life. Some of us discover that taking this step reveals new issues and areas that we need to work on. Such as insights or addictions we may need to start addressing within ourselves. Sometimes this step gives us new insight about a current or past relationship or our history. A prayer that helps me is this: show me, God, what it is I'm learning. Guide my growth and me. This is a step that encompasses our imperfections and the imperfections and humanity of others. It is a vehicle for learning to love ourselves and others unconditionally. Take it not in fear, but in trust that we are right where we need to be in our lives, our recoveries, and our relationships. Our desire to admit our wrongs promptly will increase, whether those wrongs are toward ourselves or others, because we will learn that doing so brings peace. Unrest and discord are often signs that we need to take this step and look within. Trust that the answer will come. Be patient with yourself and others as you struggle forward. Be patient with yourself and others as you struggle forward in this process of growth, change, life, and recovery. Be patient as you struggle to identify issues and what your part is or was in those issues. Be open to the answers because they will come. Welcome the insights. We can trust where this process is taking us. We can trust what's happening and where we're at in this process. Something is being worked out in us, something important. Whether we are at a plateau or a dramatic and intense time of change. We don't have to control this process. We can let go and allow it to happen. By working this step, all we need to know about taking care of ourselves will be revealed to us. Once we have worked our way up to step 10, we can maintain and increase our self-esteem by regularly working this step. It incorporates the processes we've gone through in steps 4 through 9. It means we go through this process again as needed to keep on track. We don't work this step to punish or demean ourselves. We don't work this step to punish or demean ourselves. We do it to maintain harmony in our relationships with ourselves and others. We do it to stay on track. We don't project this step on others. We inventory ourselves, our own thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and paths. When we get off track, when an issue emerges that we need to address, we now know how. We identify the issue. We talk to someone about it. We are honest rather than defensive, fearful, or ashamed. We accept what happened and take responsibility for our part in it. Then we become willing to make any appropriate amends, and we let go. This process for keeping ourselves on track can become as habitual as our survival behaviors once were. The next time we do something that bothers us, we don't have to waste our energy diving into shame. Next time we get caught up in an old behavior, even when we know better, we don't have to punish ourselves. We can take a 10th step, identify it, talk about it, and then promptly make an amend, whether that means correcting our course with ourselves or others. Let the process happen and move on with our lives in love for self and others. Admitting I was wrong in how I was treating myself or others used to be difficult for me. I felt that my entire self-esteem rested on my being right all the time. That attitude didn't leave room for much growth or self-esteem. Now, as I am learning to be more comfortable with myself, I find it somewhat easier to admit my wrongs. I am more open, vulnerable, and humble about this process of growth and recovery. It's still difficult for me to go to people and admit my wrongs. It's difficult for me to become aware of a new behavior I need to work on. I still gulp and think twice before I apologize. I have to fight with my defenses and my pride. My need to be perfect, my need to be right, is still there in the background, trying to be heard. This step, this program, is teaching me that I don't have to listen to that old message. My peace, my joy, my love for self and others comes when I accept myself. It comes when I allow myself to be honest, open, and responsible with those I love, work with, and relate to. It comes when I'm responsible to myself and my own needs. My self-esteem and self-love come back when I promptly address the wrongs I do to others and myself. This step gives me permission to be me and to be imperfect. It gives me permission to love and nurture myself and focus on what's right with my life. It allows me to be a vulnerable human being in relationships with other vulnerable human beings. It allows me to forgive myself, and it has taught me much about forgiving others too. It weaves the concept of forgiveness and acceptance into my daily life. This step is teaching me to love others and myself unconditionally and still take responsibility for me. We don't have to be perfect and right. Now we can say, I was wrong and I am sorry, to ourselves as well as to others. This step gives us permission to be honest about who we are. We can deal with things as they come up. Use it regularly to grow and maintain the good feelings that we have discovered. All right, we are down to the activities, of which there are 5 for the end of this chapter. Number 1, how do you continue your process of self-awareness and inventorying? Do you spend time each morning or evening reviewing your day? Or do you allow your insights to happen naturally as you go through life and recovery? Do you combine tactics? What works best for you? Number 2, sorry, that's funny. Just for future reference, that's not how you navigate them. I mean, that worked, and they got by. But I'm back to snacks go a long ways, people. All right, back to number 2 of the activities to be finished. Number 2, when was the last time you caught yourself doing something you did not feel good about? Did you take care of the issue promptly? Number 3, either daily or weekly, force yourself to find one thing in your life and one idea about yourself that is good. Affirm that good until it sinks in and feels real. Strive to find one thing that you like about someone who is important to you. Then take the risk of telling that person. Number 4, watch for ways that fear, anger, and resentment arise in your life. Watch for beliefs underlying these feelings. Watch for ways that your anger toward yourself influences your anger and behavior toward others and yourself. And the final, number 5. What is the affirmation you and your inner child most need in your life today? Do you need to tell yourself that all is well? That you can slow down and take your time? Do you need to promise yourself that you will protect and take care of yourself in a particular relationship? Do you need to affirm that the love you want and need is coming to you and that you deserve a loving relationship? What is the fear or idea that is bothering you most today about yourself and your life? Are you facing a stressful or fear-producing circumstance? Are you feeling inadequate about something? Create a loving, nurturing affirmation that helps you and your inner child know that your life will be fine. All right. It's going to be all right, babies. All right, that is the end of step 10. We begin with step 11 tomorrow. Step 11 is sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood God, praying only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. That will be step 11 next. I appreciate you. I know this one ran a little long, but there was a lot of entertainment. They must go together. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you.